Elden Ring features a large variety of castles and fortified structures. We previously looked at the largest of those fortresses. A link to that video can be found in the description box below. This time, we'll examine the game's forts, looking at what we can learn from their layouts and geography. We'll also speculate on their past purpose, whether they were built as outposts or defensive strongholds, for instance. They'll be ranked from least to most defensible, based on these criteria. Let's dive in. Sitting in a narrow valley of the Shadow Realm lie the ruins of Unte. They're located at the bottom of a chasm, submerged by shallow waters of the Recluse's River, beneath the church district of the Shadow Keep. Judging from the spire's architecture, this used to be a modest horn-sent settlement, consisting of a few structures, including a walled courtyard which barely qualifies as a fort. Yet, a fort it must have been, considering how it seemingly withstood an assault from Messmer's forces. Indeed, Unte was presumably laid to waste by a number of furnace golems, as evidenced by their shattered remains scattered around the place. One of them lies with its back against the keep's entrance, disabled after its brazier was extinguished. We don't know what happened exactly, but a battle of some kind clearly took place here. Maybe a group of Hornsent took a stand in this walled courtyard, cornered by Messmer's constructs, with no choice left but to fight for their lives. Unte was heavily damaged during the fight, its walls and towers partially crumbled to ruin. Within the walls, though, a flowery garden was spared from destruction. Here lies a small chapel which contains a Hornsent incantation, perhaps a hint as to how the golems were defeated. There's also an ancient altar related to the stone-sheathed sword, which dates back to the Rao era. Perhaps this place held religious meaning to the Hornsent, which would explain why it was so well defended. Due to its small size and ruined state, Unte earns a spot at the bottom of our list. Fort Faroth lies in the northern region of Gael, where small patches of vegetation still remain. It was built atop the cliff that towers over the Wailing Dunes, a strategic location with a clear view of the entire region. The abundant presence of Rao pillars might have helped in picking this spot, ensuring the cliff was sturdy enough for building. From up here, the Redmane clan would have been able to stand watch over vast distances and see invading forces coming from afar. When Malenia unleashed her scarlet rot on Gael, dragons made their nest in this region, likely cutting off the garrison from supplies and reinforcements. This might explain how they died, their ghosts now lingering in the upper part of the fortress. The fort's layout is quite simple, consisting of a single enclosed keep without a courtyard. The lower floor was never paved with stone, and seemingly served as a rudimentary storehouse. Bats and rats recently took over the room, likely attracted by abandoned food supplies, as well as the smell of rotting corpses. The upper level is where soldiers would have spent most of their time, standing watch and carrying out executions. One half of the Dectus medallion can be found here. Maybe the Redmanes took it with them upon retreating from Laeidd after their failed siege. In Tolkien's Legendarium, the name Faroth is an elvish word connected to hunting. So, perhaps this fort was meant as a dragon-hunting outpost, where warriors gathered in search of dragon hearts to consume. This fort originally belonged to House Haight, a minor noble family who likely settled in Limgrave after Godfrey's conquests. Players are familiar with its current heir, Kenneth Haight, who asks the Tarnished's help in reclaiming his fort.
You might have heard of me, Kenneth Haight. Next in line is the rightful ruler of Limgrave.
The fort is located on the southeastern coast of Limgrave, with its back facing the open sea. From here, the fort's owners get a good view of the surrounding landscape, such as the Weeping Peninsula. Beyond the nearby forest and broken plains, Stormvale is also visible in the distance, providing a direct line of sight between liege and vassal. Fort Haight appears in relatively good shape, its remote location having spared it from the shattering wars. Its layout consists of a few towers, a courtyard, and an upper balcony. There's also a wooden platform anchored to the northern rampart, where a ballista was set up with a clear angle on the slope below. An Erdtree sapling can be found near the entrance, perhaps planted there as a symbol of the Haight's minor nobility. All in all, Fort Haight is a decent stronghold, though its low elevation relative to nearby hills could be seen as somewhat of a weakness. Fort Gael belongs to the Redmanes, acting as an outpost for their larger castle to the south. It is located along Caelid's western cliffs, close to the border with Limgrave. The sheer height of those cliffs makes it impossible to besiege from the west. The south wall is also well positioned, standing above a pond of scarlet rot. As for the north-facing slope, it's been barricaded by a substantial garrison. The fort's layout is fairly similar to Fort Haight, though it is slightly larger in size. From here, we get an excellent view of Limgrave, which is interesting, considering the events of the Shattering War. One might imagine that the Redmanes knew of the Erdtree army's invasion well in advance, as Malenia's clean-rot host would have easily been spotted from here, marching east, leaving the Redmanes enough time to muster their troops and ready themselves for battle. Maybe this explains why the battle happened in the middle of Caelid, as Radahn and his men marched to meet their foe on the field, rather than having been surprised into a defensive siege. Looking back, perhaps they lost a tactical advantage in the process, though that's pure speculation on my part. In any case, cowering behind walls wouldn't fit Radahn's character, something the twins likely counted on that day. The Swamp of Ionia is also visible from here, meaning that any men stationed here during the battle would have witnessed Malenia's scarlet bloom firsthand. Speculative tangents aside, Fort Gael earns the number 5 spot on our list. Fort Laeidd stands on the western slopes of Mount Gelmir, making it one of the most remote strongholds in the lands between. It's located below Volcano Manor, its outer walls clearly visible from here. The only way to access it is a ravine, stretching around the base of the mountain, all the way from Windham in western Altus. The fort is held by a group of fire monks, likely attracted here by the volcano's eruption. Inside, we find a storeroom with a decent stock of weapons for the local garrison. Remains of Leyndell soldiers are found here, meaning this place was held by the Golden Order in the past, perhaps as an expeditionary outpost. The walls feature battlements on all sides, as well as layers of barricades protecting its entrance. Tents and provisions are found in the courtyard, which is occupied by a fire prelate. This is the fort's living space, where soldiers likely spent their resting hours. Fort Laeidd is ranked as number 4 on our list, mainly due to its remote location. The Fort of Reprimand is one of the largest forts in Elden Ring. It is located in the Land of Shadow, not far from Castle Ensis. The structure is tucked between a knoll and a cliff, largely concealing it from sight. The south-facing wall is anchored within the cliff, its foundations built into the rocky ledge. The premises are patrolled by Iron Virgins, associated with Rykard. The fort is guarded by Omen Killers, as well as a Black Knight sworn to Messmer. Gallows were built in the main courtyard as a means to hang undesirables. Inside, we find bloody instruments of torture, as well as many cages of all sizes, all of them grim hints as to the fort's purpose. It's worth noting that the fort is fairly close to the villages of Morth and Bonny, the largest population centers of Hornsent, aside from the Tower settlement. Perhaps it was intended as a way to oppress them, a hidden place where their secrets would be extracted by force. The Fort of Reprimand ranks third, mainly thanks to its size. The Guardian's garrison stands high on the mountain tops of the Giants, right next to the Flame Peak. It is the main stronghold of the Fire Monks, an ancient faction who fought as allies to the Golden Order in the distant past. After the Giants' defeat, they became tasked with guarding the Flame of Ruin, and as such, established their fortress to block the only means of accessing it. This is a highly strategic location, with a clear view on the narrow stone bridge to the south, where invaders would be forced to cross. An entire half of the fort towers over a mountainside, high enough that we can't see the bottom. A rock formation covers the northeast side of the walls, adding another layer of protection, supplemented by barricades and spikes along the slope. Due to its location, it's hard to imagine how an invading army could possibly threaten this place, let alone successfully besiege it. Still, there's another fort that's even better protected. The Fortified Manor is the physical iteration of the Roundtable hold, located at the heart of Laeidd, the royal capital. As such, it benefits from the city's fortifications and its triple layer of titanic walls, which withstood several conflicts over the ages. The manor was likely built as a base of operations for Godfrey and his warriors during the early age of the Erdtree, as evidenced by the lion crest proudly displayed above its entrance. A garden area is comprised within its walls, lined with mysterious statues. An elevator connects it to a divine bridge, which was severed at some point. Interestingly, the back of the keep stands at the edge of a cliff. Perhaps it too was connected to another structure or landmass in the past. The manor is comprised of several floors, as well as thick, sturdy walls that withstand the weight of Gransax's petrified arm. From the upper rampart, we get a great view of Laeidd, including the Erdtree Sanctuary and Marika's Palace. The interior of the hold features plenty of living space, hinting at how many men once lived here prior to Godfrey's banishment. The premises are still well guarded to this day, although the manor itself was left empty, perhaps out of respect, or maybe on Marika's orders, as the Tarnished were expected to return. If you enjoy my content, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.